You are not your circumstances. Let's start there, because too many people get stuck believing that where they are right now is permanent. They think the setback is a life sentence. It's not, it's a moment. And moments pass, but here's what doesn't pass unless you choose differently: your willingness to take full responsibility for where you are. It's easy to point at what went wrong. The economy shifted. A partner left, a job was lost, someone let you down, you got sick, you burned out. Whatever the thing is, it feels justified. It feels like the reason you're on the sideline right now. But here's the truth, and I say this with full empathy and with full clarity: you're not on the sideline because of what happened. You're on the sideline because of what you did after it happened. This is the difference between people who make a comeback and people who stay stuck. The ones who come back don't wait for the world to hand them an opportunity. They build one. They don't wait for motivation to show up. They show up without it. They stop rehearsing the story of how they were wronged and start writing the story of how they're going to win. Self-responsibility isn't about shame or blame. It's about power. The minute you decide to stop outsourcing the reason for your situation, you get your power back. When everything is someone else's fault, you've handed over your control. You've said, "I can't move forward until they change or until this changes." That is a powerless place to live. That is the opposite of a comeback. That's pause mode. That's survival. But when you say, "Okay, this happened, and here's what I'm going to do about it," you flip the switch. That's the moment the comeback begins. Not when the conditions are perfect. Not when someone validates you. Not when you feel like it. Right there. In the quiet decision to take full ownership for your next step. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding responsibility for right now? It could be your health. It could be the way you lead your team. It could be the fact that you stopped pushing toward your goals the minute it got hard. You don't have to tell anyone else the truth here, but you owe it to yourself to stop pretending it's someone else's fault. Your comeback doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be honest. Brutally honest. You can't take aligned action from a place of denial. If you're not where you want to be, there's a reason, and chances are it's something you've been avoiding, that hard conversation. That consistent habit, that decision you keep putting off because you don't want to feel discomfort. But here's the reality: discomfort is part of the process. You will not make a powerful comeback inside your comfort zone. The version of you that builds a comeback is bolder, more focused, and more intentional than the version of you that got knocked down. That means you're going to have to stretch, and the only way to stretch with purpose is by owning what needs to change. People don't lose because they're not talented. They lose because they choose excuses over action every single time, and when you take radical responsibility, those excuses lose their power. You stop giving airtime to the story that says "I can't," and start building the life that says "Watch me." So if you're in a low moment right now, good. That means you're positioned for a comeback, but you don't get to rise until you decide to take the lead. No one is coming to do it for you, and that's not a bad thing. It's the best news you'll hear, because it means the outcome is in your hands, your work ethic, your mindset, your decision making, your habits. These are the things that will rebuild you. Start now. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for perfect clarity. Just take the first responsible step. When you do, momentum will meet you, not because things got easier, but because you stopped waiting for them to. It's time to lead yourself. It's time to rebuild from the inside out. It's time to take full responsibility, and with that, full authority over your future. It's time for your comeback. You cannot move fast if you don't know where you're going. That's the truth that so many people ignore while wondering why they feel stuck, overwhelmed, or inconsistent. Clarity isn't just a luxury, it's the foundation for momentum. Without clarity, you're busy, but you're not productive. You're moving, but you're not progressing. You might even be successful on the outside, but inside, you're drained because you're out of alignment. Clarity is the decision to get honest about what you want, what matters, and what you're building. It's not about having all the answers. It's about choosing direction. Most people are stuck not because they can't make progress, but because they won't make a decision. They stay in a loop of second, guessing, overanalyzing, waiting for a sign, waiting for permission. And in that waiting, they burn energy. They confuse movement with traction. Momentum comes when you start saying no to the things that don't align and yes to the things that do. But in order to say no with confidence, you have to know what you're here to do. That's clarity, and clarity requires you to pause and do the hard work of evaluating your life and your leadership. What's working, what's not, what's essential, what's noise. Most people don't lack ambition, they lack focus. They set 5 goals and chase them all at once, never giving any one thing the consistency it needs to grow. Then they get discouraged when nothing seems to take off. But the problem isn't a lack of potential. It's a lack of clarity. When you dilute your energy across too many directions, everything moves slowly. But when you narrow in on what truly matters, everything accelerates. Think about a business leader who's unclear on their vision. Their team will feel it. Their results will reflect it. Every meeting, every initiative, every hire will be reactive instead of intentional. Now contrast that with someone who's deeply rooted in a clear purpose and direction. They make faster decisions, they communicate with confidence, they attract aligned opportunities. Why? Because clarity creates momentum, and this applies to your personal life too. If you don't know what kind of life you're building, you'll say yes to things that drain you. You'll accept roles, relationships, and routines that take you further from your goals because you haven't defined those goals clearly enough. This is how burnout happens, not from doing too much, but from doing too much of the wrong things. Clarity requires discipline. It's easy to chase the next shiny thing, the next opportunity, the next person's blueprint. But clarity says, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is the path I'm choosing. It doesn't mean you never pivot. It means your pivot is strategic, not emotional. It means you're leading, not reacting. Getting clear also means getting specific. I want to be successful is not clarity. I want to grow my team by 30%, develop 2 new leaders, and increase client retention by Q3 is clarity. I want to feel better is vague. I'm committing to 5 a.m. workouts, clean meals, and 8 hours of sleep because I want to lead with energy is clarity. Specificity unlocks action. You can't measure progress on a fuzzy goal, but when your goal is clear, you can track it, adjust it, and hit it with confidence. There's also a mindset piece to clarity. You have to be willing to let go of what no longer fits. That might mean stepping back from projects or people that used to be aligned but aren't anymore. Clarity doesn't always feel comfortable, but it does feel freeing. The minute you get clear, you stop needing external validation. You stop asking everyone else what you should do because you already know. You start making decisions that move you forward, not ones that just maintain the status quo. And once you're clear, the momentum follows. Not because it gets easier, but because it gets focused. Your time gets sharper, your energy gets directed, you know what to say yes to, and you know when to walk away. You start compounding wins instead of collecting scattered efforts. And the best part, you feel it. You feel the traction. The motivation returns. You're not just working, you're building. So if you feel stuck right now, ask yourself, what do I actually want? Not what sounds good, not what someone else wants for me, not what I think I should want. What do I want and what needs to change for me to pursue it fully? Don't skip that question. Sit with it, journal on it, talk it out. Clarity doesn't show up by accident. It's created through intention. Once you have it, protect it, build from it. Let it guide your goals, your calendar, your team, and your vision, because clarity is the spark, but momentum is the fire that follows, and you're the one who gets to light the match. The breakthrough doesn't happen when it's convenient. It happens when you decide to show up again, after the excitement has faded, after the motivation has worn off, after the plan got hard, boring, repetitive, or uncomfortable. That's the difference between people who talk about change and people who actually experience it. The ones who win don't just commit once, they recommit constantly. They get clear on the process and then decide over and over that it's still worth doing. This is where most people fall off, not because they lack talent or drive, but because they expected results to show up faster than discipline. The truth is, the process won't always feel exciting. You won't always feel like you're making progress. Some days you'll question everything, your goals, your strategy, even your capacity, but the ones who keep building are the ones who decide in those moments to keep going anyway, to recommit, not to the outcome, but to the process. You can't shortcut the process and expect real transformation. You can't show up only when you feel like it and then wonder why things haven't shifted. Growth doesn't reward the person with the most energy at the beginning. It rewards the person with the most consistency throughout. That's why recommitment is powerful. It's not loud or flashy, it's quiet, it's personal. It happens in the moments no one sees, when you choose to honor your commitment even when no one's watching. If you're waiting to feel inspired before you take action, you're giving up your power. Inspiration is great when it's there, but it's unreliable, it fades, but habits, discipline, standards, those stick, and those are what you need if you want to build a real comeback, because a comeback isn't a single moment. It's a series of consistent, often unglamorous choices stacked on top of each other. It's waking up, doing the work, and repeating, especially when the finish line feels far away. The process is what sharpens you. It exposes what's not working. It forces you to grow in the areas you've been avoiding. It pushes you to lead better, think clearer, act faster. But that only happens if you stick with it long enough to let it work. Recommitting means choosing to believe in your own path, even on the days it doesn't produce instant results. It's understanding that just because something is slow doesn't mean it's not working. You don't need to rebuild everything overnight. You just need to take the next step, and then the next, one decision at a time, one disciplined action at a time. That's how momentum is built, and here's the hard truth: no one is going to do this for you. If you're waiting for someone to come in and save you, give you a map, or hand you an easier way, you're going to be waiting forever. The power is in your hands, and recommitment is your responsibility. This also means letting go of the expectation that it should be easy. It won't be. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That's a sign you're doing it right. Every meaningful transformation is built through resistance. Every win you see from someone else came after hours, weeks, months of showing up when it was easier not to. The process is the point. It's where your character is built. It's where your leadership is tested. And it's where your comeback is formed. Look at the areas in your life where you've been half in, the places where you started strong, then let it slide. Be honest, did you commit to the process or just the outcome? Because if you only commit to the outcome, the moment it feels hard, you'll back off. But if you commit to the process, you'll push through, you'll show up for the reps, you'll improve your skill, you'll lead with integrity. You'll start to trust yourself again, because you're no longer waiting to feel like it. You're doing it because you said you would. That's what real growth looks like. It's not dramatic. It's not always visible. But it's powerful, and it compounds. One recommitment leads to another. One hard day that you didn't skip builds trust. One standard you refuse to lower strengthens your identity. And slowly, day by day, the comeback starts to take shape, not just externally, but internally. You become someone who doesn't break promises to yourself. You become someone who finishes what they start. So wherever you are right now, frustrated, overwhelmed, uncertain, know this: you don't need a restart. You need a recommitment to your goals, to your discipline, to your potential. The process will work if you do. Start again today and tomorrow and every day after that. That's how you win. You cannot grow in an environment that's working against you. No matter how disciplined, talented, or motivated you are, your surroundings will either accelerate your progress or quietly sabotage it. And most of the time, it's not loud, it's subtle. It's the habits you tolerate, the people you spend the most time with, the media you consume, the standards you accept as normal. If you don't intentionally audit your environment, it will shape you by default, and usually that default won't support the comeback you're trying to make. People underestimate how much influence their environment has. You can have the best goals, the sharpest strategy, and the clearest vision, but if you're surrounded by people who play small, complain constantly, or make excuses, you will start to shrink to their level. Not because you want to, but because proximity is powerful. What you're around often becomes what you believe is acceptable, and here's the truth, it's very hard to outperform the expectations of the people closest to you. That's why auditing your environment is not optional if you're serious about your comeback. You need to look at everything: your physical space, your relationships, your digital inputs, your calendar, even your self-talk. What's supporting your growth and what's keeping you stuck? What gives you energy and what drains it? What pushes you forward and what pulls you back? Start with your people. Who are you around the most? Do they challenge you or coddle you? Do they push you to lead at a higher level, or do they validate your excuses? You can love people and still recognize they're not good for your growth. Not everyone can go with you to the next level. That doesn't mean you cut people off harshly. It means you get intentional about how much access you allow. Energy is contagious, mindsets are contagious, and if you're not careful, you'll start adopting the very habits you're trying to outgrow. Now look at your space. Is it chaotic or clean, cluttered or focused? Your environment reflects your standards. If your desk is disorganized, your schedule is reactive, and your systems are sloppy, how do you expect to operate with excellence? You can't expect high-level output in a low-level space. Get disciplined about your setup, create order, build systems that support your goals. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your environment. Then there's what you consume, the content you scroll, the podcasts you listen to, the books you read, the conversations you engage in. This all matters. Every input is shaping your mindset, whether you realize it or not. You want to make a comeback? Start feeding your mind like someone who's building something meaningful. Stop filling your head with distractions, negativity, or comparison. Be ruthless about protecting your focus. You cannot afford to be mentally lazy when you're trying to make a major shift in your life or business. Even your calendar is part of your environment. What are you prioritizing? What gets your time every day? Are your hours aligned with your values, or are you letting other people dictate your schedule? Too often, we blame a lack of time when really it's a lack of boundaries. Reclaim your time by getting clear on what matters and saying no to what doesn't. And finally, audit your self-talk. The most dangerous environment is the one you create inside your own head. Are you speaking life or doubt into your goals? Are you encouraging yourself through the hard moments or tearing yourself down for not being further ahead? The language you use with yourself shapes your identity. If you want to become someone who finishes, someone who leads, someone who creates impact, you have to talk to yourself like that person now. Your environment isn't just external. It's also internal, and it's your responsibility to clean it up. Auditing your environment is not a one-time task. It's a constant practice. Seasons change, goals evolve, and what served you 6 months ago may no longer be a fit today. That's okay. It's not failure, it's feedback, but only if you're paying attention. Most people don't slow down long enough to do this. They feel stuck, but they don't stop to ask why. They keep doing the same things, expecting different results. That's not how transformation works. Your comeback requires a higher standard, and that means looking at everything around you with fresh eyes, asking hard questions, making honest changes, letting go of what doesn't belong in your next season, and choosing every day to build an environment that supports your vision, your energy, and your execution. Because when your environment is aligned with your goals, momentum becomes inevitable. You don't have to fight so hard to stay consistent. You don't have to battle resistance at every turn. You're supported, you're focused, you're set up to win. So if you're ready to go to the next level, stop trying to force progress in a space that doesn't support it. Audit your environment, and then upgrade it with intention. That's how comebacks are built. Not in chaos, in clarity, in structure, in alignment. You cannot expect to lead others well if you aren't first leading yourself. It sounds simple, but most people skip this part. They want to be influential, build teams, grow companies, change lives, but they haven't yet mastered the art of personal leadership. And here's the truth: the way you lead yourself sets the ceiling for everything else in your life. If your mindset, habits, and standards are chaotic, your results will be too. Leading yourself means doing the hard things without needing someone to tell you to. It means showing up with discipline, consistency, and integrity, even when no one's watching. It's easy to perform when there's accountability or applause. It's harder to lead yourself when it's just you, your decisions, and your standards. But that's where the real growth happens. When you're alone with your choices and still choose the version of you that's aligned with your goals. You can't expect your team to be focused if your own calendar is disorganized. You can't expect others to be coachable if you're not willing to be challenged. You can't ask people to operate at a high level if your own energy, communication, or standards are inconsistent. Leadership is caught more than it's taught. People watch what you do more than what you say. If you want to create impact, your personal leadership has to reflect the example you're asking others to follow. This means taking radical ownership of your results. You're not a victim of your schedule. You're not a slave to your feelings. You are responsible for your energy, your focus, your habits, and your outcome. That doesn't mean every day is perfect. It means you don't outsource your effort. You don't blame the team, the economy, your past, or the pressure. You hold the mirror up and ask, where can I be better? It also means setting clear standards. High performers don't rise by accident. They rise because they decide what they expect from themselves and then align their behavior with those expectations. They have non-negotiables. Not just in business, but in how they think, how they treat people, how they take care of their body, and how they manage their time. They lead themselves with clarity, and that clarity creates consistency. Leading yourself also requires emotional discipline. Can you stay grounded when things don't go your way? Can you make decisions under pressure without becoming reactive? Can you handle feedback without getting defensive? The people who make real comebacks aren't just physically disciplined. They're emotionally resilient. They don't let temporary emotions create permanent detours. They stay focused on the mission even when it's hard. If you're building anything significant, whether it's a business, a brand, a family, or a new version of yourself, leadership is the starting point. Before you can earn influence, you have to earn credibility with yourself. That means keeping the promises you make to you. That means following through even when the initial motivation has worn off. That means building trust with yourself through action, not just intention. You don't have to lead perfectly, but you do have to lead intentionally. You have to be aware of your patterns, your triggers, your tendencies to procrastinate or avoid. You have to watch your language, your attitude, and your habits, and not in a judgmental way, but with the mindset of a coach. If you were mentoring someone else who acted the way you do, would you be proud of that example or would you challenge it? The most empowering part of self-leadership is that it doesn't rely on external permission. You don't need someone to tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's time. You can choose it right now. You can raise your standard today. You can clean up your habits. You can decide to operate at a higher level. And when you do, everything else shifts. You make better decisions. You attract stronger partnerships. You create momentum that compounds. Self-leadership is the hidden foundation behind every comeback story. Because before the recognition comes the repetition, before the breakthrough comes the discipline, before the big win comes the daily work. You don't become someone people want to follow until you become someone you respect in the mirror. That's what real leadership is. It's not a title. It's not a spotlight. It's your ability to guide yourself through the hard moments with vision, strength, and conviction. So if you feel stuck, lost, or behind right now, don't look outward first. Look inward. Are you leading yourself with excellence? Are you holding yourself accountable to the standards you say you want to live by? If not, this is your call to realign, not with shame, but with ownership. You get to set the tone, you get to lead the way, and when you lead yourself well, your comeback isn't just possible, it's inevitable.